All right, Bigfoot Society, got the privilege of having Eric Palacios back on the show. We have talked before, but I am really excited to have him on to talk about this today. Bigfoot, the Redacted Truth. Eric finally has his book out where he's got some absolute bombshells of FOIA requested information that he has now in the public sphere. And welcome to the show, Eric. How are you doing, man?
Hey, Jeremiah, I'm doing good. Thanks for having me back again. It's been a while.
Absolutely, man. You have been busy. I got this book off Amazon and I was like, maybe there'll be like one or two new things. I was like, whoa, there's a lot of new things. There's some really, really, really big things that are in this book that honestly should be in the newspaper. They should be in some newspaper. And I'm pretty sure they're only in this book. So, man, and maybe we'll get into that later on in the interview. But I mean, if you're into Bigfoot and weird stuff about Bigfoot and there's probably stuff going on behind the scenes, get the book, guys. I'm gonna have the link in the show notes for this. But Eric, what have you been up to since we last talked?
I've been up to a lot. There's been a lot of stuff going on with me. I've been doing FOIA requests all over the country, and I've had some really incredible results. If you've seen my channel, Jeremiah, I've kind of talked to you on the side about some things I found, just kind of keeping you in the loop and stuff like that. But really, some incredible stuff that I honestly didn't know what to do with. I never really intended on writing a book. I had everything on my YouTube channel and like my Patreon, and I really thought that was going to be it. I didn't think it was going to be any further than that, but I kept getting these FOIA request results back, and one thing after another, I was like, this is just, people need to know about this stuff. I mean, some of these reports actually have Bigfoot in the name. Some of these police reports, some of these federal reports that we're going to go over, they actually specifically say Bigfoot, Sasquatch. I mean, there's even mentions in the early or the late 60s, early 70s of a possibly, allegedly, seems like a government funded hunt for Bigfoot. And I wouldn't have believed it unless I, found the documents to prove it. And it's really just one of the main things that kind of steered me to writing the book. I had a bunch of police reports and emails, and the book also has some internal emails that were really never meant to see the light of day pertaining to Bigfoot. And I'm talking about emails from park rangers, park managers, county clerks, and this stuff really was just kind of conversations they were having privately, never thinking it was going to be released to the public. So all that stuff, I really felt like the public kind of needed to see this, and that's where the inspiration for the book came from. And it did take me a little while to get this out, because every time I thought I was finished, I would get another report of something, and then I'd be like, oh man, I can't leave this out. I got to figure out a way to put this in there. So I was trying to get it out by this past summer, but got delayed and ended up coming around. I put it out in the fall, the end of September. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm really glad that you got a copy. I was going to send you one. I haven't had the chance to yet, but I'm glad you picked it up. And I really appreciate your perspective on the book and everything like that. And I've also received reports since the book's come out, so I might have to do some type of follow-up book or like a part two, just because like I said, you never know when you're going to get stuff back from these FOIA requests, and I've been getting stuff back. Right after the book was published, I got like two things right back, so I might have to do another one.
Oh, I would definitely say so. Do you have a report that is in this book that is just like, is there a number one favorite that you have and you're like, oh my goodness, it's just, I still can't believe that is in there? Or do they all equally just blow your mind?
I do have one that's my favorite. It's my absolute, I think I've even titled the chapter in my book, The Greatest Bigfoot Sighting of All Time, just because of the amount of documentation there was, the people that were involved with this. So basically what happened was, I did a FOIA request to the Bureau of Indian Affairs, the Federal Bureau of Indian Affairs, seeing if they had any type of Bigfoot, Sasquatch information, cryptid information. And surprisingly, they told me they had over like 3,000 Bigfoot documents. They only released one thing to me, and that one thing was it's mind blowing. And that one thing is mind blowing. I'm just kind of wondering what's the other stuff about. Um, but this one thing, I'll read you a little bit of this here in a second. But this one thing happened in 1978. It was in the Mescalero Apache Reservation in New Mexico. And pretty much what happened was the woman was out there with her child at the time, and they're just walking around their property. They hear something, and they approach this water tank. And from behind this water tank they have comes out a Bigfoot. And I mean, the actual folder, I have the folder here. It actually says it's labeled animal or Bigfoot incident
Mhm.
report. This is a federal document. It says animal or Bigfoot. That's how I think they took it seriously, because of the amount of agents that were involved. There were at least 4 agencies involved. We know this from the incident report. And if I could, can I go ahead and read you this little piece right here?
Absolutely, please.
Cool. So this is in the book, and this is really what triggered the entire incident. So it says June 25th, 1978. It's a Sunday. And it says, Redacted called and requested an officer. Redacted said she advised that she had seen an animal or Bigfoot by her residence. Needs someone to come and check it out. This is a federal document from 1978. Never seen the light of day, never would have seen the light of day unless someone had done the FOIA request. And for me, like I said, this is just one piece of documentation. Her account is in here, the federal officer's account in here. I believe there's like 6 pages that are in the book. All total, I want to say we never know how many pages there are, because I believe at the top it's kind of redacted on how many pages there were. But for me, I think really this is just the most incredible Bigfoot sighting of all time, because we've got the federal rangers going out there investigating this, taking this incredibly seriously. We've got them, like I said, there multiple accounts of what they saw. And in the report, it says that they were actually 100% sure that it was a Bigfoot and not a bear, because they tried to say, the federal agents kind of tried to skew it and say that it was like a bear. This is a Native woman that's been out there probably her whole life. I'm sure she's seen 100 bears come and go. She absolutely knew what she had seen out there that day. And she said it was Bigfoot. Not only that, but in the report, they also mention another sighting that took place in the area called Head Springs. That was just a few days after this incident happened. So really, I think that's got to be my favorite one, because again, we hear all these stories about Bigfoot or Sasquatch surrounding or being around these Native American reservations. You've heard stuff in Oklahoma and stuff like that, but we've really never had any type of solid documentation or data until this report came out. For me, this is solid. This is a federal report. It's titled, animal or Bigfoot. There's no going around that.
It's wild, dude. And the other cool thing I love about your book is you're not just writing about this, like you scanned or took pictures of the pages that you got.
Yes,
and
yeah.
you can actually see them for each case, and it is incredible. And I know, oh my goodness, there has got to be some individuals in the government that are just like, oh, the Bigfoot guys
Yeah.
went too far this time.
Yeah, I've actually had a meeting. I've had a meeting with a couple of agents, because I
No
was doing a
way.
FOIA request for another area, and they were like, "Oh, whatever. Can we have a meeting with you?" And so I had a meeting. They called me at like 10 o'clock in the morning. I don't think they gave me much notice. I want to say I got the email the same day, and then they called like right away. Like I said, okay, boom. They called right away, early in the morning, and we had a meeting, and I sent them this. I sent them the Native American Bigfoot file that I received from the Bureau of Indian Affairs. And after I sent them that, they're like, "We'll get back to you."
Oh,
And that was pretty much the end of the conversation right there.
okay. Well,
Um,
wait. So where were these? Who were these guys associated with?
so
Or
it was the Fish and Wildlife Department.
oh,
I had a meeting with them because I was trying to get some files from a region that I hadn't before. And they
okay.
said, "Hey, can we have a meeting with you? We want to know what you're up to. What are you doing?" And I'm not sure, what they were expecting up until I had sent them that document. When they had sent that, they were like, "Okay, so you're serious about this, yeah." So that
Yeah,
was
yeah.
really that was the end of the conversation after I had sent them that. They're like, "Okay, we'll get back to you," and yeah, that was a
Oh my
couple months back.
goodness. Did you ever were you able to have a face to face with them, or this was just over the phone, or?
This was just over the phone, yeah.
Okay, got
I
you.
don't know if I'd want to have a face to face with them, honestly.
Yeah.
This was weird because I was on a call and I thought it was just going to be me and him, but he also said, "Oh, we have this person on the line and this person on the line." I was like, "Oh, he
Oh.
just kind of he blindsided me with that." I was just thinking it was going to be because I had a back and forth email, little bit of a dialogue with this one person, and then he called me, and then there's two other people that are kind of sitting in on the conversation. So
Mhm.
whatever that was, I don't know, but they were really surprised when I showed them that Bureau of Indian Affairs document. They were really interested in that.
Imagine if you had busted out the whole like, oh yeah, American
I
president
I didn't want to
authorizes the
go that
Bigfoot
far.
expedition.
I I did not want to go that far, yeah, because they,
Oh
I
man.
didn't want to give them all the cards.
Yeah, that's the big card.
Yeah,
That's the
it's a
big
big one.
card, man. Oh my goodness. Just absolutely, absolutely wild stuff. Can you tell me the story about what's the background story about the files with Robert W. Morgan and I guess we can say President Nixon.
Yeah, we can say that now that it's
Okay,
it's
yeah,
out. Yeah,
it's out there.
um, it's out there. Yeah, I have been incredibly fascinated with Robert Morgan. I've always known his name, but I didn't know how deep he went into the subject. And I knew he had made his documentary films and done some research, and I thought that was really the extent of it until I found his proposal for a Bigfoot hunt that took place in 1969 that he sent to the White House. And it was really kind of, I mean, they were getting approval or help from different Department of Agriculture. They were getting the National Science Foundation. They were like, yeah, send us whatever you got. So if it wasn't directly funded, it was definitely going to be approved, or it was going to be looked at, whatever these people brought back from this expedition. Now, not only that, but there were other really big names involved with this. The sheriff's, Skamania Sheriff's Office was involved. A couple of sheriffs were involved in the expedition. In the proposal that Robert Morgan sent, it's in the book, he mentions, hey, we'll keep this top secret. We have a guy willing to work at Hardwick College in New York. He'll process any specimens we have, any evidence we have. We'll send it to him and we'll do it quietly. Like it says that in the document. And the weird thing is with Hardwick College, I believe that's the name, it's in New York. Right out in front, there's a Gigantopithecus statue in front of that, in front of this university.
Yeah,
So
right.
that's kind of like, whoa, what's going on with that? That's
Oh.
really interesting. But this was way back before that statue ever existed. This is in 1969 when this is kind of taking place. And again, like he sends this report of their expedition to President Nixon, and other cabinet members were involved, pretty much telling them, yeah, you got the go ahead. There is money mentioned. There is money mentioned in this document. He's saying you can pay me what I was making when I was working with the military. This is Robert Morgan.
Hmm.
Robert Morgan is such a really kind of shadowy figure in general. I mean, the stuff he's kind of been associated with, the people he's been associated with, really, really interesting guy, even apart from the Bigfoot subject. He's wrote some, books
Yeah.
about infiltrating the mafia. And I mean, he's just a really, really interesting person. I would love to have a conversation with him at some point. And I mean, again, he was front and center, kind of taking this whole Bigfoot expedition. I want to say if it wasn't, I would probably say Tom Slick might have been the first, and then shortly after it was Robert W. Morgan. But Tom Slick was doing that out of his own pocket, billionaire oil guy. But again, he's had communication with the White House, and it's in there in the book. He mentions exactly what they did. They did have some interesting encounters or incidents happen that's documented. He submits that in the report, and they planned They plan to follow up. The follow up mission was actually to capture a specimen alive. It says that in there, which is just kind of, when you think about it, you're just like, they're trying to capture a specimen, like
That
in the
was
early
wild.
1970s. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you wouldn't believe it unless there was kind of documentation showing it. But
It's so incredible just to look. I mean, it's there's at least one page on here where it says the White House, Washington. It's like White House.
oh yeah,
Would you call it letterhead? I don't
it
know. I
is.
mean, it's
Yeah,
like,
I think
yeah,
probably the most interesting document from that is that it's titled "Abominable Snowman."
yeah,
And
yeah.
it says whoever wherever like legislate whoever needs the legislation for this or something to that effect. So it kind of sounds like they were almost ready to construct some type of legislation if and when Robert Morgan would have been successful.
The other interesting thing that you pointed out in here is that um, so the pages you have scanned in where it's Morgan's letters to pretty much to Hickel.
Mhm.
Long story short is they have stamps on them, which the official White House routing stamps, which pretty much proved that they actually like got there to the different
Oh
steps
yeah.
along the ways, and people did see them, which is just
Yep.
mind blowing.
Absolutely. At the top, it'll say like date received, date read, like those two steps right there. And it was taken seriously. We have to say it was taken seriously. There were responses from National Park Service saying, "Hey, why don't you come to the Gifford Pitchett National Forest? You guys will have carte blanche out here. You can do whatever you want." And they went out there, and again, every piece of their expedition is documented in Robert Morgan's report. And some of those people went out to do some really incredible things. Bob Carr, the anthropologist I've actually spoken to, when I found his name attached to this report, this Robert Morgan's report, I thought it was so interesting. And I reached out to him, and to me, it almost felt like some of these people were put in the dark. Some of the people that were on this expedition, they knew what they were doing, but they didn't know, who was behind it, or they absolutely had no idea that Robert Morgan was in communication with the White House. I had sent Mr. Carr those letters, and he's like, "Whoa, I didn't know this
Oh,
existed."
no way. Wow.
Yeah,
So you got on the phone with him.
absolutely, yeah,
Ooh. Oh man, yeah, that is absolutely wild. And I will also say, Robert W. Morgan is I would have to say, if I was to pick like my at least definitely on my Mount Rushmore of Bigfoot researchers, he's on there. And I would say if people have never read, or if listeners have never read the Bigfoot Observers Field Manual by Robert W. Morgan, it is worth picking up. You will learn more from this one little book than anything else when it comes to researching Bigfoot and how to figure out your area to check out. It's
right.
so good. It's so good. Robert W. Morgan, such a good individual. Imagine where that could have gone. I mean, if it in an alternate universe,
Right.
Nixon could have been President Nixon and the Bigfoot. They could have brought the Bigfoot back to the White House like a Lewis and Clark expedition. Oh
They
my
were prepared for it. I
goodness.
mean, they had people at universities kind of standing by for when they did bring something back. And again, it was an expedition to capture something. It says it in the report, like our goals to capture or whatever. And we're going to make laws. We're going to designate, once everything's finished scientifically, we're going to re-release it back into the wild. All this is in the report. It's just mind blowing. Like they had everything kind of ready for this to happen. The reason he was writing certain people is because he wanted the legislation passed immediately when they found something. They wanted it passed right away just to protect the habitat, protect these beings, and that we have areas where legislation has passed where they now are sanctuaries for Bigfoot, Sasquatch, and some people might look at that as kind of a jokey thing. Robert Morgan was absolutely serious when he was out
Mm-hmm.
looking for that, saying, "Hey, we need to designate this place a safe space for Sasquatch or Bigfoot." And other areas have followed that. I don't know, unknowingly or knowingly, but there are places like that.
Yeah, there's multiple places I'm thinking of in Washington where I mean if you shoot You do not want to do that. You're going to get heavily fined. I think Skamania County is actually one of
Right.
those places, and
Yeah.
there's I know of at least one school where, and Cliff talked about this on his podcast, where the school project for the year is to get to contact different legislators in different counties in Washington and to get them to see if they can pass a
That's
law
cool.
or an ordinance like that, not to hurt Bigfoot. If you hurt Bigfoot,
Right.
like there'll be consequences. So pretty cool stuff. Mike, so the question though is, how did you know to start digging under the rocks for this? Did you hear something, or was this just like, hey, I wonder if President Nixon ever had anything to do with Bigfoot, or like, how did you get
No,
down this rabbit hole?
yeah, it wasn't really like that at all. I was just kind of doing FOIA requests for names that I knew that were in the field.
To backtrack a little bit, so it sounded like you were just randomly picking out names of people associated with Bigfoot over the years. So that's probably then you just did a FOIA for Robert W. Morgan and stumbled upon it then.
So that one was actually, I didn't have to do a FOIA for that. That was actually buried in an archive that
Whoa.
I don't think anyone had ever seen before. This was like deep in a national archive that you had to like pay to access to get. So I did that, got access to it, and found this buried in a bunch of just stuff where you would never have been able to find it where you were looking. And I'm like, what the heck is this doing here? But I was doing a search for Robert Morgan, and that's really how it popped up. And
Okay.
it just went from there. And there were a lot of Robert Morgans that I had to kind of comb through. But when I found that, I was like, holy crap, this is this. And I dug through it, and it was just kind of mind blowing when I found it.
So, and you'll have to excuse, I don't know a lot about, so National Archives. So is this an electronic search that you're doing, or you're actually going somewhere?
This was an electronic search that was through a university. This university had this, I believe I know it's like a paid service that you have to go through or whatever. And it's a national thing, but I think it's hosted by this university.
Okay.
So it's not officially like National Archive, but it's a national document from, they might have got a copy of it years ago and just kind of stashed it. Never seen, never,
Gotcha.
never intending for it to be public. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Wow, that's crazy. It was just there the whole time. Electronically.
It was there the whole time. It was there the whole time. Yep.
It makes you wonder what other stuff is just there, and you never know unless you just happen to search for the right keyword.
Yeah, exactly.
Crazy.
That's the only thing from my book that I found in an archive, which I've done so much digging in the archives. I found some really interesting stuff that I thought about putting in the book, and I wasn't sure. Like I have it's like a card from the Bureau of Indian Affairs. This was in an archive. It wasn't a FOIA request, but in there it says that it's from like the 30s. It says a Bigfoot stole a horse, and they had chased this Bigfoot to try to find these horses. Whether or not that's like I don't think that was a Bigfoot tribe or anything like that, but it says that like a Bigfoot stole a horse. They said they went after it, stuff like that. But I didn't really find much other in the National Archives other than that. Then a couple of things that I think a lot of people have seen, like the FBI stuff, the hair sample stuff that was taken. I think a lot of people are kind of familiar with that stuff that happened.
The Peter Byrne one.
Peter Byrne, yeah.
Yep.
So apart from that's really the only other thing I had seen in the archives that had kind of been released. And honestly, that made things a little bit harder because every time I tried searching, that kept popping up. That Peter Byrne thing kept popping up.
So that makes it even more wild because, well, in a way, there's a paper trail, but there's not a really obvious paper trail that, hey, this guy found the Robert W. Morgan asking President Nixon and et cetera about the Yeti expedition. I mean, now that it's in a book, like it's out there. And I think as hopefully, you get on more and more, or more and more people listen to this and they realize, hey, this is it's a really big deal. Like, I hope people realize how big a deal those documents are.
They're huge. And we know like this is the documents that were made public. We know
Yeah.
there's stuff that was not made public, and I've looked for it because in that bundle there was a letter that Robin Morgan sent to the National Science Foundations. Basically, they were basically saying, "Hey, we're cool. You can send us anything you want. We got a heads up from Nixon's crew. You're going to be doing this, and we want to be kept informed about it." This is them,
Mhm.
going back and forth. And so I reached out to them, the National Science Foundation. I'm like, "Hey, you guys had a dialogue between Robert Morgan. There were multiple letters sent. I only have one. Can I have the rest of them? It's a FOIA request. You're a government organization. You got to give it to me." And they're like, "We don't know what you're talking about, nothing." And so I sent them the letter, and they were like, "We can't find anything. We don't have any record of that." And I'm like, "You don't have any record of it? It's your letterhead, everything. Like, this is your document from your organization." They didn't even have that stuff.
Oh, they didn't even have the stuff you had.
They didn't even have it.
Oh man. Ooh, that's wild. That is so.
Yeah,
I hope.
that was news to them. That whole thing was news to them. When they saw that, they're
Wow.
like, "Oh, okay." They're like, we don't know."
My goodness. Has there been a time where you have, I guess, where you've either submitted something or received something and it got you really nervous and you're like, there's probably going to be consequences now that I have this information. Like there's going to be kickback from, or there's going to be pushback from something.
Yeah, I think there's a couple that kind of put me in that whole thing. A recent one that it wasn't in the book, but maybe we can talk about it at the end because that one is still kind of an
Okay.
ongoing thing.
Oh, sure, sure.
But yeah, but there has been a few where it kind of scares me. The stuff that's in Texas, because I'm here in Texas, and that's kind of not too far to reach for some people. For me, the most interesting stuff, it's one of the more interesting cases. I call it, I in the book it's called like the Bigfoot sighting spree, because in 2019, in Santa Fe, Texas, which is on East Texas, there was just a huge number of 911 calls made. People on social media all saying that there was this wild ape on the loose, and it kind of just blew up, and it was nothing had really been shown as far as like, did this happen? We don't know. It was all just kind of hearsay. So when I heard about it, did the FOIA request, and the stuff I got back, I have the reports from all these, from the sightings that happened. I really wish I would have been able to get the 911 phone calls. I tried to get the 911 phone calls, but after I think it was 90 days, they destroyed them, which,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just terrible because we're losing so much information. Just hearing what these people are describing, people had visuals of this thing. A woman said it was digging through her trash cans. It had long arms. It was during like a thunderstorm. She got a good look at it. She was one of the first people to call, and I have that call in the book. All the reports are amazing. They had a drone in the air. They had dogs out, and they never found anything. They have no idea what this thing was. The sheriff had to put out a thing saying, if you see a chimpanzee on the loose, don't approach it. They had people from out of state coming in. It was a big deal. But I think the most interesting part about this is that everyone was reporting that it was a wild ape, that it was attacking people. And I was kind of like, I didn't see that in any of the reports. None of the reports mentioned attacking, aggressive, none of that stuff, until I got the email. I got an internal email from a county clerk there where she was kind of talking to a friend that didn't work for the county. And she says there's a 5-foot ape on the loose attacking people in Santa Fe. She never thought that was going to be released. But that's kind of confirmation from a source there. And I mean, I tried looking for what she was talking about, but it was never mentioned. So, and I'm kind of thinking, like, were those reports, like, were they just omitting that stuff? Why didn't they include that? Were they trying to keep people from like hysteria or something? What was going on here? There was a lot of questions I had about that because they really didn't want to give me that stuff at first. It was a kind of a battle. I had to send like 3 or 4 emails. One of these got kicked up to the Attorney General of Texas,
Ooh.
and it got denied. That got denied. They didn't want to give me any more information after that. So all I have is this one email, and to me, it's really mind blowing. And I've talked about this before, and people have reached out to me from Santa Fe, and that's just really wild to me because I've heard at least three different explanations to what this thing was. Someone told me that it was like a pet. Someone had it like a chicken farm. I couldn't really find any information on that. Someone else told me that it was a mother and like a young one because people had been, well, at least the police were trying to make it sound like it was smaller than it was. Some people were saying it was a capuchin monkey. I'll say some people, the authorities were saying it was a capuchin monkey. Everybody that got eyes on this thing were saying it was an ape. And when you say ape, I think, you're thinking something big, chimpanzee,
Right.
whatever. And it even says that in the documentation. It goes from the first report is a suspicious animal, and then it evolves into a suspicious person. So that goes to show you something a little bit bigger out there. They're talking about hearing ape howls. They're talking about hearing, howling, things like an ape would do. And one of the most intriguing people to come forward and talk to me from that area was a man, and he told me this, and I can only kind of go on his word, but he had said that it was his son and a friend that had gone out dove hunting, and they had seen this ape in a tree. They saw it, and they shot at it, and it jumped out of the tree and scratched one of the kids in the faces,
Ooh.
and that is where the aggressive ape came from. That's what he told me. That's where the whole attacking a child or whatever, that's where it came from. These guys out there dove hunting, they found this thing. And to be honest with you, he had a lot of knowledge about some of this area. I mean, maybe that's just because he lived there, or yeah, it sounded like he had a lot of knowledge from the police reports. This is before I made it public and published the book. So it was interesting. A lot of people were seeing this. The news reports, the news had been out there on location while they're out there talking about this. A truck drives by and goes, "Hey, we just saw it over there." Like they're just saying that. Like there's a news clip. It's out there.
Wow.
It's on my channel too. I did a whole little video about it. But to me, this is one of the more interesting reports because recently we had these monkeys that truck that flipped over. Some monkeys escaped.
Right.
We heard about this. Everyone knows this,
Mhm.
and we know what type of monkeys they were. We know how many there were. We know what happened to them. Why don't we have that sort of documentation for this type of incident? We don't have anything. We don't know where this thing came from, what it was, where it went. They just like vanished. And it went from like a national thing to where the sheriff had to get involved to just quiet after that. Radio
It's,
silence.
it's incredible. You are still 100% focusing on Bigfoot FOIAs, correct?
I'm focusing on Bigfoot stuff, but I've received some other documents from other areas that of kind of the same subject, cryptid and stuff like that. Uh, but I'm generally focusing on Bigfoot Sasquatch stuff. Yeah.
There was, I don't know if this was just on TikTok. It was on YouTube as well, actually.
Okay.
And I'm just curious if you have any thoughts about it. Have you heard the 911 call for North Carolina with the it's like something that jumps into the
Yeah,
guy's truck?
I did hear this, and I called them to see if I could get a copy of that, and they told me that there were like 60 people wanting that also. So I would have to wait in line. I was like, oh, that's cool. They'll put it out when they get it. So yeah, they were multiple people working, trying to get more stuff from that.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so that should be coming out soon, if not very soon, because that wasn't that long ago. It was a couple of months back. Yeah.
Oh, you're saying like the whole call?
Yeah,
Wow,
there are people, there's at least, she said there were like 60 people that had
that's wild.
submitted records requests to get all that information. So
My
we'll be
goodness.
seeing that soon, I'm sure.
I was thinking about other things you've done in the past, and I think one of the other fascinating ones is it was a park ranger, and you couldn't get the information because
Oh
there
yeah.
was a HIPAA issue, right? Like he got hurt or something in some way.
Well, we don't really know about that. I mean,
Okay,
that's probably one of the most interesting reports I've ever received. It is from the National Park Service, and it's the only Bigfoot sighting ever released, Bigfoot sighting report ever released by the National Park Service. And it clearly states in there, hey, group of people were out here, they saw Bigfoot, or they said they saw Bigfoot and a bunch of bone piles. It says that in the document. The other thing it says right at the top of the document, there's a bunch of redactions, of course, is it says this report has not been approved by a supervisor, which I've never seen that before. I have the badge number's redacted. The ranger's name is redacted. It shouldn't be. We should have all that information. And all we have is an incident summary report. It's just like 3 sentences. We should have like a full on report, time, everything. We don't even know how this report came in. We don't know if it was a phone call, email. We have no information on that. So it kind of makes you wonder what was going on here. The email I got in correspondence with the report was basically saying, hey, the only reason there is an incident summary report is because that ranger that was assigned to that, they were medically incapacitated to go to that area. So once they say medically incapacitated, all that type of stuff, it becomes a HIPAA exemption, and we're not going to get any information after that. But some people have speculated, because there's no much, we don't have the email or anything. Was it the ranger that had made that report in the first place? Is that why their name is redacted? Because they were the witness. Were they medically incapacitated by the Bigfoot? They were bone piles there. They were reporting bone piles. And you would think a Bigfoot attack, documented Bigfoot attack, might be kind of far-fetched. I have a whole chapter in here called Bigfoot attack reports. There's at least 2 documents, one from Michigan, another from Alaska, I believe, or Washington, I believe. And the one from Ohio, it's basically a guy who's in a Jeep in a kind of like a recreational tree farm or something like that. It's midnight, and he's calling the police saying, hey, I need you guys to get out of here. I hear Bigfoot again. And he says again. And you're like, what? What's going on here? He had to be medically evacuated to the hospital. And what happens at the hospital? It's a HIPAA exemption. That's the end of that. We're not going to get any more information on that. So that was really interesting. And it's like, I don't understand the again part with that one. That's really weird. No explanation for that. And when I put that out there, a lot of people from Michigan started hitting me up saying like, oh my God, I've heard so much about that area. And it was really cool getting that response from people in that community. So apparently there's quite a bit of activity where this person called 911 having to be evacuated, saying he heard Bigfoot. I mean, that's a documented fact right there. That happened. This guy had to be evacuated. That's not the only time people had to be evacuated for something like this. I also talk about in the book the 2024 Kisatchie National Forest incident, where this group of teenagers had to be evacuated from the area because they had seen something over 5 foot tall on 2 feet with what they said was glowing red eyes. And it was at least 7 kids out there. They all had to be evacuated. Now, I submitted, that's a national forest, Kisatchie National Forest. I submitted a FOIA request to the National Forest Service saying, hey, what do you guys have on this incident? Absolutely nothing. They had no information about this, which is kind of concerning when you think like a group of kids had to be evacuated out of there. The sheriff, the Natatocha sheriffs were the ones who responded to this phone call because the kids couldn't get a hold of any like ranger or anything like that. And I believe Kisatchie even tried getting a hold of them. They couldn't make any contact. So it's like, what's going on here? Why don't you guys have any documentation for that? And I recently went out to that area, and it's going to be featured in my next documentary. We actually went to the GPS coordinates from the report, and it was just, I almost died going out there. I mean, it's just like steep, it's rocky. They were honestly like my pants, I took jeans out there, they were ripped to shreds. It's in the documentary. They're completely shredded. It was about 2 miles, a brutal 2 miles to get to where they were. And man, I got to tell you, if there's anything in that area, it's going to be in Kisatchie National Forest. It's just a giant playground with swamps and stuff that, I mean, we went 2 miles in and my clothes were ripped to shreds. There's no way anybody's going to be able to explore that full park. There's absolutely no way. But we went to the GPS coordinates. I believe we were at the campsite. I found a can that was there, kind of like in that area. So I want to say that was kind of that area where they were at. And while I was out there filming for the documentary, that wasn't far from another report that I had received from Harrison County, Texas, where a man had called because he says, hey, I got Bigfoot on my game camera. And I have that 911 phone call. He calls in saying, there's something on my game camera. I think it's Bigfoot. Can you guys come take a look at it? I have that full report. I went out there and I spoke to this gentleman, which is really awesome. At first, he was like, I don't want to talk about it because they kind of disrespected him a little bit to his face. They were being really nice and stuff, but when they put him on hold, you can kind of hear some laughing or whatnot taking place behind the scenes. And so I had to kind of coax him to do this interview. Went to his location, kind of surprised him a little bit, but that might have helped him kind of getting in the mood for this interview or whatever. And he broke it down to me. He basically said why he called, the response from the game warden, because it was transferred from the sheriff to the game warden. He told me what the game warden says. He told me what happened to those cameras, their reaction. And to me, it's really fascinating. I got his opinion on what he thinks this is. And I think people are really going to be kind of shocked at what he says in this interview, because he doesn't really hold a lot of punches. He was mad about how he was treated because he wanted this taken seriously. And again, he just kind of breaks it down like a report wouldn't be able to do. He gives me all that information, and it was really awesome. So that's going to be coming up in my next project here.
Okay, and so these will both be released then on your the Harry Man Road YouTube channel.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay, which there's some fantastic stuff on there already. I'll have the link for that, and you've done some really good documentaries also on your area, Texas, Bigfoot related ones, and other Bigfoot FOIA related ones as well. Some really good stuff on that channel. So I'm excited to see those other ones come out as well. So I asked something like this a few years ago. I don't know how long ago, maybe 2 years. I didn't check, but feels like forever. But in case people haven't heard that one, and they might be totally different now, can you spend a few minutes giving us kind of how does a person go about doing a FOIA request? Let's say if they're like, oh man, I think that something happened in this certain area of Oregon around this certain date. I heard something that this certain ranger station, etc. Is what kind of things do they need to be able to do to do that?
I think the most important thing is dates. If you have some dates, that's really going to be the most important thing. Some counties or agencies are a lot easier to work with than others. There are some people that, and it's honestly, it's not authorized. I don't think it's legal, but some areas are like, if you don't fill out this 7-page form, it's not considered a FOIA request. And at that point, you can't narrow things down to that effect because you don't have all that information. You just have dates and stuff. And they're like, they want to know who was involved and all this specific stuff. But some areas, some agencies and counties and sheriff's offices, a date is sufficient. If you have a date, maybe with some other information, some just keywords like, ranger saw this or a name of the town or something to that effect. All that stuff helps. Any keywords you can find, any dates that are relevant. And if you have a name of someone that came forward and said something, obviously that's probably going to be your best bet. There's also other things you can do that I've done before, and I wouldn't recommend it, but it is effective, is you can just ask for all their emails on an email server from this year. And I've done that before, and I've gotten like a couple of things out of it, but it's like weeks of combing through emails and stuff. AI might be able to help you now with AI, but still, that's one way to go about it. But again, the best thing you have, like for me, I had heard about like the ape incidents in Santa Fe, Texas. I had the dates for that, and I basically said, hey, give me all the police reports you have from this day to this day. And so it was a small town, so that was all the police reports they had, and it was all from the monkey incident. And there were 6 of them. Come to figure, there were 6 of them. That's kind of a lot. But again, dates are probably the most important thing. If you've heard about something, if you've seen it in the news, you might have even a little better luck, because in some of these FOIA requests, you can actually like attach clips, like news clips, like this is from this is from that, cool, or whatever. So that helps a lot too. And I've done that for the Santa Fe stuff because They were kind of acting like we don't know what you're talking about, and I'm like, there were like 80 news stations out there covering this. What are you talking about? You obviously know about it. So I had to go a little bit back and forth. I attached some of those reports, like, oh, that, okay, yeah, we'll send you what we got. So it's funny.
And the other thing is, uh, there could be a monetary cost to having them do this, and usually they'll tell you up front, right? Is that still the case?
That is the case, and it's terrible because it should be free. All this stuff should be public
Right.
information. It should be free. But the book that I wrote, it cost me about $600 to get all these reports, which is just kind of crazy. But yeah, I've had to pay, and normally they will tell you up front, cost for page or whatever. So it's always good to have that information. But it's not cheap. Some of the stuff is not cheap, and I've had stuff that I've had to put on the back burner because I don't have the money for it. I just don't. Like some of the Mammoth Cave Bigfoot shooting stuff, I did a FOIA on that, and at first I kind of had made up my mind about that, but I kind of want to go back because there are two videos that were taken, body camera videos from the police, and they wanted like $6,000 for each one of those, and I was like, that's not going to happen. Uh, Florida has so many Bigfoot emails. It's unbelievable. And they wanted just a crazy amount. They're like, I'm not even going to give you a number. Like, it's going to be astronomical. You're not going to be able to afford it. So I had just been doing small things at a time. I'm like, all right, give me 200. And it would be like $300. Like, all right, give me 50. It'd be like $100, So there's there's a lot of stuff out there. And surprisingly, there's a lot of stuff out there. There's police reports, there's photos, there's 911 phone calls. It's out there to find. It really is. And I'm really surprised that I haven't seen anybody in the Bigfoot community kind of submitting FOIA requests or anything to that extent. I've seen some people doing, talking about forest rangers and their experiences. You hear that a lot, but finding documentation. I mean, I've only found one piece of documentation, and that's from the National Park Service. And I'm sure there's more out there. I'm sure there's more.
Yeah. No one is definitely, I guess, publicly doing the amount of work that you are doing. No one even comes close from what I know. I know Micah Hanks has done. I remember I heard him speak at CryptidCon a few years ago, and he has definitely gotten some stuff. But I mean, you are doing a whole nother level of work in the things that you're getting back. I mean, there's nothing that comes close to this for sure. And I would think it'd be important to mention you have like a Patreon membership where people can join that, and then you'll be posting you post stuff up there,
Yeah.
but it's a way to pretty much to support this work in order to continue. And I mean, that's just to get, I mean, you mentioned everything from a few $100s to those body cam videos,
Yeah.
6,000. That's wild,
Yeah, no, like you said, everything that all the funding for the book, everything. I have a normal job,
Hmm.
and I love that job. It's great. This is just what I do, kind of as a hobby, as a side thing, and it's unfortunate it costs so much money to do that. But again, I'm trying to better the community, trying to help as much as I can. I'm not really like a tracker or anything. I have a background in public relations and IT, and so I just wanted to utilize what I've kind of done before, and yeah, I've luckily I've had some success with it, and I'm going to keep digging, and hopefully we'll find some stuff with well, I've already found some stuff that I wasn't able to fit in the book. So again, I'm probably going to have to do maybe a series of books here
I hope
with the
so.
stuff that I've accumulated. Yeah.
I hope so. Now, you had mentioned a few minutes ago that there might be something that you could share at the end or near the end of the interview.
Yeah, I think we can talk about that now.
Okay.
It was an email I had sent, where it was a FOIA request I had done for an area in Washington,
Mm.
and I had wanted to get their information because I had heard about some stuff going on over there. So I did the FOIA request, and it came back, and it was a bunch of results. It was kind of one of those email server things, but I had a time span. So I was able to narrow it down a little bit. So I got the stuff back, and while I'm digging through it, I see one and it's labeled unidentified bone. This is their title for it, unidentified bone. So I open it up and I look through it, and basically it's an email of a woman saying, hey, um, this person I know just passed away, and I've inherited their entire bone collection. And this person who I inherited from, they're biologists and they're very educated, and we have this one bone, we don't know what it is. This email was sent to a university. It got intercepted by a sheriff's office, and the sheriff's office is basically saying like, oh, we might want to take a look at that. The woman actually had attached the picture sent to the university, and again, it was kind of intercepted. The picture is very interesting. It's well, in the email, it basically says, she mentioned saying, hey, we don't know what this is. Could it be a baby Bigfoot? It says that in the email. And I'm going to be doing a video about this, showing the email and stuff like that, because it's wild. There is a photo of the jawbone. It's an actual jawbone, a mandible. It's small, but it's incredibly thick. It's very thick, dense. And so I had sent it to someone who's works with bones, I'll say that, on a regular basis, and they looked at it and they were like, I've never seen anything like this before. And they sent me a pamphlet of stuff that was just like, of why it's not a human bone. And I thought that was really interesting. The teeth, the arrangement of the teeth looks very different. The holes, there's the amount of teeth isn't correct for something, a human child or whatever. Again, the thickness is just way too thick. And so I had a lot of questions after that. I had got that identification or whatever from the person I had sent it to, and I needed some more help. I wanted to get a second opinion, and I'm pretty good friends with Mr. Doug Hychek.
Oh yeah,
Doug, he's a great guy. So I had reached out to Doug, and he just kind of contacted me right away, saying, "Hey, I know a couple of people. This is amazing. We'll get to work on this." And he actually did a rendering of the bone, the jawbone with teeth, and it looked very interesting, very interesting. So he has two anthropologists, I believe, looking at that. Now, I have not told Doug this part here. I'm going to tell you. I had just gotten another batch of emails in, and there's a continuation to this email thread, because what happened was, like I said, it was intercepted by the sheriff's office, and the sheriff's office was basically saying, hey, we want to take a look at this. And the person never responds. And it's a couple of days, and the email chain starts between people in their office. And they're basically saying, hey, this woman's not being cooperative. We need to do something about that. And it's basically saying like, hey, they sent another email saying, hey, there's consequences to this if you don't bring this up here. Like, this is not, like, you got to bring this up here and show us. And so finally she responds saying like, oh, sorry, I've been so busy, I haven't had a chance to, or whatever. And there are other internal emails saying like, she's afraid of the person who owned this or the owner. Like, it's kind of shadowy a little bit. Like, it sounds like she's, I don't know. I don't want to say she's hiding something, but it felt a little weird there. And so what happens is, the last email I received from this chain that I just got, it basically says that this was a FOIA request I did to Washington. Everything happened in Washington, okay? They flew out to Alaska to pick up this bone. I have no idea how that works. Like, is that not out of like their jurisdiction or anything like that?
I would say so.
I would think so, right? So it's documented saying, well, at first it says, hey, right before that, it says, the person who collected this bone is a biologist, very intelligent person. They know what they're looking at, or something to that effect. Like, it didn't say that, but it's like this person would have known it was a human, or if it was, an animal, because it was a bone collection. And he picked this out for a very certain reason. And it was found in the Pacific Northwest. And again, I have no idea how a Washington sheriff's office was able to fly out to Alaska and pick up this jaw. No idea. But it's in their possession now, and that's the last we've heard about it. That is it.
The Washington Sheriff's Office has this.
They have that.
Holy
all this happened in 2011.
Okay, gotcha. So I don't know what I would do in your situation, because it's one of those things where it's like, there's the line where you're journalist, but then it's like, okay, how far do I get involved with this? Do I call up
Right.
the sheriff's office and get in the story myself and try to figure it
I've
out,
thought
or do
about
I
that.
like,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. And it's kind of, it's like, they're like, I'm scared to know what they're going to say. Like, why are you interested in a bone that was in,
Right.
our skull from 2011? Were you involved? Even though I was probably like a teenager at that time. But, but yeah, I don't know. It's, they really wanted this. And again, they mentioned like, hey, there's criminal consequences if you don't bring this to us. And they went to get it. So it's just wild. Like they wanted this bad. And hopefully, I need to reach out to Doug with this new information. I haven't told him, but
Yeah.
he's got his people looking at it. And again, I mean, this is one of a few things that I've received in recent weeks since my book had come out. This and another internal email that it's a park ranger, it's a park manager, the manager of the park, basically sending another email to a person saying, "Hey, I'm out here looking for Bigfoot. I know they exist." This is the manager of a park, like sending this
Holy
email out.
mackerel.
He was hunting Bigfoot in that park, and he's like, "I know they exist. Like they're here." Like this, yeah. So,
Um,
um,
Obviously we can't get into specifics about the park, but can you say if it was like a national park or anything like that?
it's a state park.
State park. Okay,
State park.
interesting. Wow. I can think of many state parks that would fit.
Yeah, it's a state
Yeah.
park, and I was really blown away just by how forward they were. They were just putting it out there, like it says I'm looking for Bigfoot, like it's here, like it's pretty wild.
Mm, my goodness. Has anyone reached out to you after you've released this book and been like, hey, you know what? I've also gotten things from FOIA requests as well. Have you gotten any of those contacts yet?
I haven't had anybody with that, but I've had people reach out to me with tips
Okay.
about other things that were happening and stuff that I should FOIA request, and I've done a few of them. So that was a couple of weeks ago. So I have some stuff from Maine. People from Maine reached out to me with some really interesting information, and I hadn't done anything in Maine before. So I sent that out recently, and I agreed to their how much it would cost and all that stuff. So they have something, and I'll be getting it here soon. And whether it's any substance, we'll see. But they're going to send me some stuff. So, and it's from this tip. Yeah. So we'll
Just
see.
fascinating stuff. Eric, you are doing some incredible work that is really making a difference in the community. I can't imagine, like, hopefully you keep doing this for years to come, and what will come up in the future from this. And just hats off to you. Keep doing what you're doing. And, I'm going to, people, listeners, please check this book out for yourself. It is a thing where you can hear us talking about it, but when you actually read through it, you see the pages for yourself and you're like, oh man, this is wild. It's all over the place when you know where to look. So check that out. I'll have the link in the show notes. But is there any other things you would want people to know about how to keep up to date with what you're doing, Eric?
Oh no, just please reach out to me. My you can check out my YouTube channel, Harry Man Road. If you're interested in seeing the documents that we talked about tonight or whatever, you can check them out. They're in the book. It's hard data. This is documentation with Bigfoot named in there. Like it's irrefutable. It's in there. It's data. It's hard data that it's been out there for a long time. We just got to look for it.
Good stuff. Well, man, thank you again for coming on the show, and we will definitely be keep in touch with you and seeing what comes up in the future. But thanks again, Eric.
Oh, thank you, man. It's been my pleasure.